All right, guys, welcome to your practice test video for test 5. Let's do the first few here. It says solve an inequality, use express answer and interval notation. So first couple, or first one, we're going to factor first. So we're going to factor with x minus 9 and x plus 5. Just like that. Go ahead and put your little sine graph down here. Put a -5 because that makes one parenthesis 0 and 9 also. Remember, we always plug in 100 there, which is if you do 100 in the first and second parentheses, you get positive times a positive, which is positive. That means that's minus. That means that's plus. We're looking for the pluses because it says greater than 0. So it would be from -infinity to -5 with a bracket union 9 to positive infinity. That's all you got to do in that one. Number 2, fraction. This is actually even quicker. When you have a fraction, first of all, make sure the right-hand side is 0, which it is. You need to put the numbers on your sine graph that make the numerator 0 and the denominator 0. And again, I'm going to plug in 100. That'd give me 101 over 96. That's positive minus positive. The sign says less than, so I'm looking for negative, which is going to be between -1 and 4. All there is to it. Let's go number 3. Number 3 is absolute value, and it's less than, which means it's an and problem. So I'm going to write, remember, 2 bars, 2 answers, 2 bars. One answer is 14. The other answer is -14. I'm going to add 4 to each side. That becomes 18. This side becomes -10. Divide by 3. You get 6 and also -10 thirds. Write your interval notation. I'm going to say -10 thirds, comma 6. And that is in parentheses because there's no equal to on that one. Let's go to 4, more absolute value here on 4. Be careful here on 4. Word of warning there. Move the 2 over first. That negative sign is still here. Do not take the absolute value bars away until you have the absolute value isolated. That's -1. Divide both sides by -1 to isolate the absolute value. When you divide by negative, remember this flips. So what happens is it's an and again. It looked like an or when I started. Ends up being an and. 2 bars, 2 answers. Subtract 5 from all 3 sides. That becomes -4. This side becomes -6. Divide by 3. You get -4 thirds. And also over here you get -2. So your interval notation is going to be from -2 to -4 thirds. And there's that one. So be careful on that one. All right, number 5. Several. Find the equation along that satisfies the conditions. It says passes through those 2 points. Obviously, when you write your equation of a line, you need 2 things. You need a point and a slope. A point and a slope. So we've got to find the slope. The slope is y minus y over x minus x. So you get 6 over 4, which is 3/2. That's the slope. You can pick either one of these 2 points you want to. I'm going to take the 6, 2, just because they're both positive. So I'm going y minus 2 is 3/2. X minus 6. And I'm just going to distribute the 3/2 here. 3/2 x minus 9. And then move the 2 over there. 3/2 x minus 7. And that's it. What you can do if you want is you can always take the other point here, plug it in your answer, and make sure it works. If it does, that means you probably did a good job. Number 6 has x-intercept -3 and y-intercept 5. The x-intercept -3 is this point, -3, 0. The y-intercept 5 is the point 0, 5. Again, we need the slope. So slope is going to be y minus y over x minus x. That's a -3. So it's going to be 5 thirds. And this time I know what the y-intercept is and the slope. So I can just do slope-intercept. Y equals 5 thirds. X plus 5. Slope-intercept form. I knew both that time. Once I found the slope, I already knew the y-intercept, so I was good to go. Excuse me there, I'll drink a little Diet Pepsi. Number 7. Passes through -2, 7, and it's parallel to the x-axis. Okay, now, if it's parallel to the x-axis, that means it's horizontal. If it's a horizontal line, it's y equals. No x whatsoever. Slope is 0. So if it's going to pass through 2, 7, it's got to pass through y equals 7, and that's it. That's all you got to do. If it said parallel to the y-axis, it would have been x equals -2. Okay, no big deal. Number 8 passes through -3, 7, and it's parallel to this line. Now, the slope of that line, you could, if you wanted to, you could go through all the trouble to find the slope-intercept form and get the slope. However, the slope of a line in standard form is -a over b. So the slope of that line is -1 over -4, which is 1/4. So there's my slope. And because it's parallel, I'm going to use the same slope. And there's my point. So I'm going to say y plus 7, because it was -7, 1/4 times x minus 3. I'm going to distribute the 1/4, which will give me 1/4 x minus 3/4. And then I'm going to move the 7 over. So I get y equals 1/4 x. If I move that 7 over, 7 is really 28/4 minus 3/4 would be 25/4. I messed that one up. Hang on just 1 second there. If I move the 7, it's negative. So it'd be negative 28/4 minus 3/4 be negative 31/4. Sorry about that. And again, you can plug the point in 3, -7 and make sure that it works, which I'm thinking about doing right now. 3/4. Yeah, perfect. Okay, number 9. Passes through -4, -8, and it's perpendicular to the line, passing through 2, 4, 7, -1. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So first of all, I need to find the slope of that line. So I'm going to go slope is y minus y over x minus x. I get 5 over -5. That's nice, which is -1. Now, I need the perpendicular to that line, which means I need the slope to be opposite reciprocal. Well, the opposite reciprocal of -1 is +1. So there's my slope, and it has to pass through that point. So I'm doing point slope again. So I've got y plus 8, because it's -8, equals 1. Don't really need the 1 there, times x plus 4, because it's a -4. So all I have to do here is move the 8 over, make it x minus 4, and that should do it right there, and it does. I'm kind of checking it in my head as I'm saying that. So there's the first page. Hope you're doing well so far. Let's turn it over. Number 10. 10 says, for that function, find f of -4 and f of 8. So 2 answers here. To find f of -4, I'm just going to plug in the -4. Now be careful when you do this. When you plug in a -4 to the x, the whole thing is squared, the negative and the 4. If you don't punch it in your calculator that way, if you use your calculator, you're going to get the wrong answer, because it will not square the negative unless the negative is inside the parentheses. And that's going to be 29 when you work that out. When you plug in f of 8, I'm going to do the same thing. 8 squared plus 13. 8 squared is 64 plus 13 is 77, not 67, which I was about to write. 77. Let's get the next one here. For that function, plug in f of -a and f of a plus b. Okay, if I plug in -a, and for all the x's, now, the first x, I'm going to plug the a right there. That's going to square it. And again, if you square negative, it becomes positive. It's just a squared. If I put a negative in there, it'd be a -5 times -a, 2 negatives, make a positive, and then the +1, nothing happens. So there's the first answer, just by plugging in a -a. No big deal. Second part's a little more work. I'm going to plug in a plus b. It's going to look like this when I plug it in. I'm going to plug in a plus b, square it, minus 5 times a plus b, and then I have that +1. So I'm going to work all that out. I'm going to square, multiply, double square here. There's the square, multiply, double square. I'm going to distribute the 5, and I have the +1. Now I'm looking for stuff that I can add together, and you know what? There's nothing. Okay, so that's it. That's all you got to do. But that's still a little bit of work there. Number 12, evaluate the piecewise function. You got 4 answers to find on this one. Let me change colors again. F of -2. You got to figure out where to plug in the -2. -2 is less than 0, so I'm going to plug it right there. 3 times -2 is -6. That's all you do. F of -1. -1 is also less than 0, so I'm going to plug the -1 right there. 3 times -1 is -3. So far, so good. F of 0. 0 is in here because it says equal to 0. Okay, x is either greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 2. So I'll plug 0 into that x. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then f of 3. 3 is obviously greater than 2, so I'm going to plug the 3 right there. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. That's really not too bad, the piecewise. Then we get to the review. Okay, so we got 13 here. 13, we have an equation with the radical. You need to isolate the radical. So the 1's going over. I've got square root of 5 minus x equals x minus 3. Be careful here. We're going to square both sides. I'm going to square the left-hand side, which is 5 minus x. I'm going to square the right-hand side here. So it's square, multiply, double, square. And then I'm going to move everything over. Okay, because I have a square, I'm going to need to try to factor it. So if I move the x over, I get negative 5x. If I move the 5 over, I get a 4. So I think that factors like this. I think you can go x minus 4, x minus 1, which you can. So my two solutions would be 4 and 1, maybe. One of them could be extraneous, and I think it's going to be the 1, because if I take the 1 and plug it in right here, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. There is no way a radical plus a positive number is going to be a negative number, so that's out. Let's plug the 4 in, make sure it works. Over here, 4 minus 2 is 2. Plug it on the left-hand side, let's see if we get 2. We do, so the only answer is x equals 4. So both answers may work. Neither answer may work. You really have to check those, looking for extraneous there. Okay. We got 3 more. On this next one, I'm going to multiply the whole thing by the LCD. And this time the LCD is x squared y squared. Multiply the top by that and the bottom of that whole. See if I can make this happen for you. On this, I'm looking at this fraction right here only. If I'm looking at that one, this y is going to cancel with this y. Okay, and it's going to give me x cubed y. Minus. Now I'm looking at this one only. And on this one, the x's would cancel. So it would give me x, y cubed. On the denominator down here, for this first fraction, this one right here, the x squares would cancel. It would leave me y squared. On the second fraction, the y squares would cancel. It would leave me x squared. Now, that's a great first step. And you may, I'm going to factor this. And maybe as far as I can go, I don't know, but I've got to check it out. So on the top, on my numerator, I can factor out an x and a y. And that will leave an x squared minus y squared. On the bottom, I have this, look at this, a y squared minus x squared. I hope you see what I'm looking at right now. Those are opposites. Those two are opposites, which means I can cancel as long as I put a negative 1. And if I do negative 1 times xy, are you kidding me? I just get xy. So the answer to that whole big deal right there is just xy. That was awesome. Number 14. 14, that was 14. I don't know what this is. This is 15. Okay, so I can barely read. That's a little blurry to me. I don't know if it's my eyesight or it's the picture or what. But anyway, let's see what happens here. I've got a negative. That's hard to read. I'm going to work inside. I think that's the best way to go. I can't tell if that q is negative 1. I think it's a q negative 1. And I have a q negative. I can't read. Let me see if I make it smaller. Maybe I can read it that way. I'm going to go check that out on the computer. I'll be right back. Not that you would even know I'm gone. I'm going to hit pause right here and come back. Okay, back. It really says q to the negative 1, r to the negative 1, s negative 2, over r to the negative 5, s, q to the negative 8. Never would have guessed that one. And negative 1 on the outside. Okay, here we go. I'm going to work everything inside first, which means I'm flipping stuff. I don't know. I'm going to flip just everything is negative inside, just to make it a little bit easier for us. So the Q8's coming to the top. The Q1's going to the bottom. The R5 is coming to the top. The R1's going to the bottom. The S negative 2 is going to the bottom. It joins the other S, so I now have S3 on the bottom. All that to the negative 1. Now, there's still work to do inside. I'm going to cancel my Q's, which gives me Q7 on the top. Cancel my R's, R4 on the top. S, nothing to cancel. It's still on the bottom, negative 1. Now, this negative 1 exponent on the outside flips everything inside. That's all it does. It just flips everything. So I'm going to end up with S cubed on the top over Q7 R4, and there it is. That's a 4, by the way. And that's it. That was a slow motion kind of way to do it. Plus, I have to go all the way downstairs and find a pick. Okay, 16. Last one. All right, here's how we do these. When we were doing these, remember, anytime the middle exponent is half the first, we would use u and say u equals that middle variable, x cubed. Then I'll put the u's in for the x's. U squared minus 4u minus 12. I'm going to factor that with 6 and 2. Should be a plus 2 equals 0. So I get this. I'll get u is 6 and u is negative 2. And I remember I always said this during class. I would be like, nobody cares about u. Remember what u is. U is x cubed. So I'm going to take the u out and put x cubed is 6 and x cubed is negative 2. Now, how do you get rid of a cube? Well, you take the cube root. The cube root of 6 is, yeah, you guessed it, the cube root of 6. The cube root of negative 2 is, yeah, the cube root of negative 2. Now, the reason there's no I on the cube root of negative 2 is because I has only square roots of negative numbers. Okay, so there's never a I when you're in a cube root. And guys, that's it. I hope it helps. Use it, You can rewind this or whatever you need to do. Keep watching the same problem as many times as you need to. I'll be at school early on Friday and during lunch or whatever would help you the most. Come see me. I will help you as much as you need me to. Text me if you need me to do something else or whatever. Just let me know. I want to help you. See you tomorrow.